Hi there, I'm Patricia with Willow Grace Mystic. I wanted to share a video that talks a little bit more about each of the houses as it pertains to astrology. Now, remember that the house position of a planet shows where your energy is focused. Basically, this is where the action is. So, to determine your first house, you need your exact date, time, and location of birth. From there, you will know where each house is and what it is ruled by in your chart. So please don't forget to like and subscribe to receive notifications as soon as new content is released. So let's talk about the third house. The third house is generally considered the house of communication. It's a cadent house, it's mutable air energy. The planetary dignity is not usually, it is Mercury, Gemini. The third house is often referred to as the house of communication, travel, technology. The third house governs all types of communication, which include phone, text, email, Zoom, anything that communicates information from one person to another. It also includes short commutes, travel, your siblings, neighbors, and our early education. The third house corresponds to the sign of Gemini, and it's ruled by the planet of Mercury. And this is where we discern from the chart how an individual expresses themselves through their verbal communication or through writing. So, having your sun in the or the home planet of Mercury in the third house, the person could be described as very mercurial, which means that they're more likely to be mentally sharp. They would be comfortable and adaptable to change. They would be quick-witted with their comments and with their thoughts. The third house reveals the nature of our personal interests and our intellectual curiosity. This is where we see what mentally stimulates the individual, what keeps their attention, be it books, technology, gossip, games, conversation. This house reveals the person's capacity to learn and to study, especially in early education in the primary formal classroom setting, so early school. The third house also pertains to our immediate environment with our everyday interactions and communication with our siblings, strangers, neighbors, peers, classmates, and extended family and associates. People that would be in our close proximity as we're growing up. We look to the third house to show how we exchange and receive information. This is messages and to some extent what we value. The house is associated with commerce in the general sense, as opposed to the more business and profit specific concerns of the second house. Here in the third house, what is highlighted is the giving and receiving of thoughts, ideas, and various types of information. It is linked to FedEx, mail, post office, package shipments, deliveries in general, including food, packages of all types of deliveries. This can include also taxi, Uber, bus, train, plane. Now, the third house, it can reveal something about how well we get along with various people that we encounter in our everyday life. And it's also the type of people that we want to find, that we find interesting or mentally stimulating. It also indicates the nature of your temperament, whether you're outspoken or reticent, opinionated or agreeable. If Aries is in your third house, it can suggest that you speak your mind freely and you can be a bit provocative with your words. If Mercury is also present, then your wit is bound to be sharp and it can be cutting. If Venus is here, you love technology and you appreciate giving and receiving important information. Your ability to relate with and to understand people is also highlighted by the third house. If your third house is occupied with difficult or afflicted planets, it can indicate tension with sibling rivalries. So, for example, Mars in the third house, it may suggest that you are or have been in competition with your siblings. Maybe in your early years or growing up, you may have been subjected to a competitive environment where you felt the need to fight for your parents' attention or approval. Or it could be the opposite of that, that you may have been the favorite child of your parents, and it was your siblings who felt that they were in constant competition with you. I've even seen this where cousins that are close in age who live nearby and are raised in very close families, similar to siblings. Now, regardless of the competitiveness, it could be either good natured or laced with contempt. So, at the same time, Mars can engender a passionate and commanding style of communication. It can confer an ability to motivate and inspire others with your words and rally enthusiasm from people with a message that you want to deliver. So the moon's location in the chart, it can show us where we need to feel safe and secure. So having your moon in your third house can mean that you tend to openly share what you feel, and this can be something of you can be like an open book to people. You're likely to show an interest or concern in people's feelings. You may even encourage them to open up and express themselves freely to you. Therefore, people with this type of a third house placement, they make for empathetic and a caring family and friend member. This placement can lend itself for careers in counseling, therapy, even customer service, or in positions of sales, wanting to meet your needs. Now, Saturn in this house, it can bring about a person of few words, but they are clear, they are concise, and they're authoritative in how they communicate with others. So, the TV, the news media, it's also associated with the third house because it's gathering information and sharing it with others. And therefore, the positions and aspects found here, they can signify something about new developments that are going on in the outside world. Saturn being a malefic planet, it can indicate a long lasting period of negativity taking place in the news. Saturn pulls back, it holds and it restricts. It wants to limit and build slowly. Therefore, it can signify restriction or downsizing in the news or media industry. The third house, it also corresponds to developmental stage in an individual's life as they're growing up. It can show up when you begin to crawl, toddle, then walk. This also includes how you develop speech, babbling, then developing words into sentences, and the ability to name things. This can also be the area where speech delays or learning delays are found or seen in a chart. The third house is associated with the concrete mind as opposed to the abstract mind of the ninth house. The third house is connected with mental activities relating to data, sequence, fact gathering, and computation. We look to the third house placements to describe how we think and rationalize in a left brain sense. Placements and house rulership, they can reveal whether we are original thinkers or inclined to follow the crowd, whether we are open minded or wired to adhere to tradition and more conservative beliefs. So, people with Mars in their third house, they believe that knowledge is power, while those with the moon in the third house, they may use knowledge for information as a means of giving or receiving security. So, when younger, our thoughts are largely based on what is available to us in our immediate environment and what our immediate environment consists of. Therefore, the signs and the planets that reside in this third house, they represent what is out there for us, what we learn in our early years of adolescence in schools, neighborhoods, the bus, from teachers, our close cousins, our parents. That is what is reflected in the third house. Also, the consequences of our actions when we act or rebel. It's what happens when we don't traditionally follow what everybody else is doing. What is the acceptable norm? This is where we learn from our experiences from these types of interactions with others. People who have very active third houses, they're likely to excel in public speaking, or they possess a persistent thirst for knowledge, education, and new skills. So I hope you got something from this and that you like and that you follow. I would love to hear your thoughts on how this resonates with you and what's going on in your third house.